everybody, it's Angie from Flip Flop Your Life, and this is episode 5 now, and I have a special guest with me that honestly I've only known her for now a year.
About a year.
It's been about a year, and she's not only my CrossFit coach, but also a mentor and a friend, definitely a friend. So I knew a long time ago. I asked you what months ago.
Yeah, I think really before you started doing this, when you were first kind of brainstorming.
I did.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have to have Kim on this, just because of your background, what you've done for me, but then what you've done for so many other people, and then also for herself. Her own story is so inspirational that I think, especially in our world, CrossFit world, that people are so afraid of. You guys will love it. So this is Kim Labora, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself personally and professionally?
Okay. So my name's Kim Labora. I'm 48 years old. I am originally from Newark, Ohio, lived here my whole life. Had a short period of time where I lived in Texas with my husband, and then we moved back. Several years ago, my father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He passed away, and then my mom was here by herself. So we came home so that I didn't feel like she was here by herself. Mm-hmm. So my husband and I kind of got rid of our life in Texas and moved back to Newark, Ohio. And then my mom passed away a few years ago, and since then have been remodeling the house that I grew up in and things like that.
Yeah.
But married to my husband Chuck, we've been married just in August. We've been married 20 years.
Has it really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it had been 20 years.
Yes, I think
Awesome.
there are days when
Hi,
it
Chuck.
feels. I think there are days when it feels like it's been 20 years. You're like, good Lord. But then there are other days where I feel like, we still have a lot of fun together. He's my best friend. We still laugh and act really silly.
You work out together?
We do. We try to. It's hard when you coach. Obviously, I don't believe in 70 workouts a day. So if I work out in the morning, because I have to coach at night, he usually works out in the evening. He has a job. He works at home. So he has a job during the day. He doesn't get to come very often to work out with me during the day. So
yeah.
Little coordinating, and we can work out together. We have a home gym. Sometimes we'll do things in the garage together. We have a tire in the yard. We have a sled we drag up and down the street. The neighbors
think you're crazy.
They know that we do CrossFit. They know that I work at a gym, so they know we're weird. But yeah, we don't get to work out nearly as much as we used to together. But that hopefully is going to change a little bit in the coming months as our schedules here kind of change.
So they know now, because I've said that you're a CrossFit coach.
Yeah. So I work at CrossFit Torsion. I'm one of their trainers, a level 2 trainer. And then I do some other kind of like management type things with coaches and scheduling and products and things like that. I help Chad and Scott and Kristen. They're the owners of the gym. I help them out in running the day-to-day operations.
How long have you been a coach for CrossFit?
I have been a CrossFit coach for, what year is this? 2019. Going on 3 years as a kind of like a full-time coach. Mm-hmm. And I all the beginners who come kind of through me. I lead our fundamentals program,
which is a great program, by the way.
Thank you. We work hard at it. We constantly are trying to evolve and change it. We do periodic surveys, and I really try to look at the data that's coming in. Every beginner is different. Everybody starts somewhere, where Angie starts is going to be different than where Kim would start. And I always need to make sure that as a gym, that all of us, all the coaches, all the members, everybody from 5 a.m. until 6:45 in our class times, everybody understands that everybody's welcome. Like, beginners are welcome. If you're a CrossFit Games level athlete and you're dropping into Licking County, we want you to come here. We feel very confident that we can, we have a good workout, we have good coaching, we have a good facility. We want
good community.
Good community. I think the best community. But yeah.
Well, I think that's one of the hardest things that, if anybody's watching this for the purpose of maybe thinking about CrossFit, that's one of the biggest things is probably everybody's told you is that first just coming here and stepping into the place.
It's
That's
scary.
the first day is the scariest day of ever of anybody.
Yeah.
But I think your guys' fundamentals program and that first day, I mean, I haven't heard anybody say they dislike that at all. They felt welcome and
it kind of starts. I guess for me, I'm kind of unique, I'll just kind of tell you a little bit really quick. So I used to be very heavy. I weighed 365 pounds at one point, and I found CrossFit by accident. I did Weight Watchers for like 8 years. I had lost all this weight. I was working out. I worked out over the years. I've been at Lifetime Fitness. We did YMCA, both here and in Texas, like in Anytime Fitness. I worked out in my garage. I did Richard Simmons videos back, when I first started because I was big and I felt like there was no space for me. I always was very uncomfortable about, I didn't want to be in your way and take up your space.
Well, what made you go in? What brought you into CrossFit?
It was kind of an accident. I was at the Y. I had actually went and so I had lost weight. I was working out, and I loved helping other people. Everybody always wanted to know, well, how do you do it? And there's no magic to like doing it, like losing weight and getting healthy. You literally wake up one day and decide you're tired of your own nonsense. Like, you're tired of being unhappy about your pants not fitting. You're tired of having tummy issues with the crap you're eating. You know what I mean? There's just like, you get to a point where you get sick of it. And I had gotten to that point. I was working out 7 days a week at the Y, and I went, I had a surgery. I had a detached retina. I went and had a surgery. While I was recovering, I studied and took my NASM personal training certificate.
Did you?
Yes, and I passed that test, and I got a job at the Y. And I
was in Newark?
In Newark. Yep. And I was training. I was doing personal training. They have like a fitness center, the big gym, and then they have like a women's fitness center.
Yes. I've been there.
So I worked in the women's fitness center. I taught reformer Pilates. I taught like a step aerobics. I taught a boot camp type class, and I loved it, but I was so bored.
Really?
I was just bored. I was bored with the same, I don't know. I was bored. I was like, what else? What else is there to do? I trained for a triathlon. I ran a couple half marathons. I did like I was always kind of like.
At the higher weight that you were at?
During that process.
Really?
Yeah, during that
That's
process. Awesome. And I was always like, what's next, right? And so there was a girl who went to the YMCA. She was a cycling instructor. And I was talking to her about it, and she was like, oh, I went and tried this thing called CrossFit at this gym in Granville. You should go try it. And I was like, what's CrossFit, right?
What most people
What
say.
is CrossFit? So I learned about CrossFit at the tail end of 2013, the start of 2014, which in the CrossFit world is like the heyday, right? That is when everybody, like your mom could go to the CrossFit games. Like it was when it was first starting, and it was this crazy, like people were flipping tires and doing rope climbs, and so I Googled it, right?
Yeah.
And there were women, all shapes, all sizes, any woman that you could think of was doing this thing called CrossFit. And they were deadlifting, and they weren't deadlifting like these little padded foam bars. They were with a barbell, and I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And there were women wearing knee socks and booty shorts and working out in sports bras, and I was like, oh my God, to have that confidence and to look like that and to have that fitness, that aesthetic, like that's what I was like, I want that. That's amazing, right? So I went to another gym here in this area, Always Forward CrossFit in Granville. They're kind of like the OGs in this area. Really good people. The owner that I dealt with the most was Craig McDonald. Great man, right? Very conservative as far as fitness. He listened to my jankiness and my mechanics, and he was like,
she has a lot of things.
Yes, I do. At the time, I had a crushed hip, I had a fused ankle, I have a metal plate in my head. I'm a mess. And Craig was like, you can totally do this. Like he never.
Which most people need to realize that, because they think that they have to be completely 100% fit before they start CrossFit.
That's probably the most common thing that we hear is people think they have to be super fit to come get fit.
Right.
And that's like totally opposite.
But everybody
There's
thinks that.
all levels of fitness. We have people who've had a heart, have a pacemaker who come to this gym. We have a person who has MS that comes to this gym. We have, I mean, myself, I'm partially blind in one eye. I have a fused ankle. I have a new hip. I have a pelvis that's, I mean, like, I'm a mess. I'm a mess.
And she's one of our best
And
coaches.
I'm like, I'm definitely not. So like, if you saw me out on the street, you wouldn't be like, oh, that girl, man, she's obviously super fit. Like, there are people who are way fitter than me. But I come from, you know, my background. Again, I was morbidly obese most of my life. I was a 2-pack-a-day smoker. I drank alcohol every day since I was probably 17 years old. I had addiction problems when I was in my 20s that I've overcome. I've had problems with the law. I've had problems with relationships. Like, you name it, I am a mess, right? And when I went to CrossFit, the very first workout that I ever did, first day, was a CrossFit open workout that was 7 minutes of burpees.
Oh,
That was my first day. And so anybody who has been to CrossFit has probably done, or anywhere now, because now the burpee is like
standard.
synonymous with grueling fitness, I guess. And so I remember the first minute of the 7 minutes, I did like 25 burpees. I was like, I was stupid. And then I ended up, I think I did like 40 because you can't, when you're not fit, you can't sustain that. And I remember Craig taking me aside afterward and being like, so, you know, what did you think? And I was like, that was the worst thing I've ever done, right? And he was like, but you did it and you survived and like you did great. And I was like, heck yeah, I did, you know. And so we went home and I told my husband, and my husband went with me, of course. I drug him. And I was like, we're doing this. We're totally doing this. And I think my husband thought I was crazy because he did not care about 7 minutes of burpees. I mean, he still doesn't. He's like,
I'm gonna say that's,
yeah. I mean, Chuck would rather go for a run, or he would rather be on a road bike and be cycling 100 miles. He doesn't care. He just likes being active. And we both have like our family history of health issues. You know, heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer. Like, we have that in our genetics.
Yeah.
And I do believe that if you can out kind of like, you can beat your genetics.
Oh, I agree 100%.
Yeah. So, you know, like, if your parents are an alcoholic and you decide not to drink, you're probably not going to become an alcoholic.
Right.
Like, that's how it works.
Yeah.
And it's the same with, you know, like diabetes. Like, yes, both my parents were diabetic, and they also ate the standard American diet, very heavy in a lot of processed food and carbohydrates.
Yeah.
They did that for years, you know.
Drank pop.
They drank soda,
juice,
they drank
and-
coffee.
yeah.
Now, they didn't drink alcohol. They were pretty sedentary. You know, my mom worked in an office.
Oh, yeah.
My dad had a busy job, but at the evenings, he came home and got in the recliner. Like, he was like, I'm exhausted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they did things like, when I can remember growing up, they square danced, they went roller skating, we rode bikes a lot. But as they started to get older, that stopped. They stopped doing those active things. And I'm kind of the opposite. Like, for me, I didn't even really find fitness and health until I was like 40.
I'm the opposite too.
Yeah.
Gotten
And
better as gotten older.
right, like we were just talking about this today.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in way better shape at 48 than I was at 28 for sure. And I hope, I mean, like, if things go the way I have them planned, when I'm 58, I'm going to be fitter than I am now.
Yeah.
That's like, my trajectory is not to peak and then crash. I want to maintain the level of fitness that I have well into my advanced
I
age.
think that's the way most CrossFitters are. We learn that.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
I
not
don't
a
know.
quick fix.
Yeah, and we don't all
not.
come into it that way. Like, a lot of us come in with the like, I want to go hard 7 days a week.
The
and,
youngins.
And yeah, the 20-year-olds.
silly youngins.
And you know, there's people who come from, we have all kinds of people. So we have people who come into fundamentals who are like, you know, I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to lose 40 pounds. I want you to, but I'm never going to look at someone and say, I promise you can lose weight doing this. I can't promise you anything. That's your choice. Right? Now, I can give you the tools, I can give you the resources, I can absolutely encourage you, I can be your accountability buddy and be like, hey, how's the food choices going? But at the end of the day, everybody who comes here is a grown up. You control what goes into your mouth, You control the way that your mindset works. You control the way you eat and sleep, and we talk about movement and fitness, and you control when you come in here, right? So in CrossFit, you come in, there's a workout of the day, and on the board it might be like, okay,
call it WODs.
It's called a WOD. Yep. So you might come in and it's like, we're going to run a mile, and then we're going to do 1,000 of these and 400, and I'm exaggerating greatly, and you're like, well, I can't do this. Well, 95% of us can't do that.
Right.
And that's cool, because you know what? If I understand that, well, running the mile, we're expecting that should take about 8 minutes. So, okay, Angie, whatever you can run in 8 minutes, that's what I want you to run.
Right.
Okay, well, maybe you're like, I can't run at all. I'm broken. Okay, well, you're going to walk and maybe I have you walk around our gym. And maybe I say walk for a minute and sit down for a minute, and then walk for a minute and sit down for a minute. Wherever you're at,
right.
We'll modify it for you. But you control it. Like, I think people feel like this happens a lot. People Google CrossFit and they see things like, they see like right now what we would consider like our champions in CrossFit, right? They're freaks. Like, they're freak athletes. They're like if your kid is like, I want to play basketball, right? They might look at LeBron James, but you certainly would not have your 18-year-old kid do the same workout, the same conditioning, the same level that LeBron James is doing.
Right.
That's ridiculous. To even think that would be necessary or relevant, right?
And we have the same thing.
We have the same thing. Like, we're going to make it
now, but that's just been recently that it's really been that way, since the games, like 2013 is when it really...
As far as like when they started?
When they got like
more games.
Game.
Yeah, so I mean, CrossFit is a program. Okay, so CrossFit is a nutrition program with a really nice strength conditioning gymnastics program kind of layered on top of it.
Right.
Okay, people get that flip-flopped. People think it's a really good workout, and they forget that when CrossFit was, I guess, created. Greg Glassman, the guy who did that, it's a nutrition program.
Yeah.
He's like, don't eat like an asshole and move every day, and you probably could be pretty fit. And he talks about it in a continuum, right? So like, if on one side is sickness and on the other side is health, we want you to be somewhere in between, right? Optimal health is where we want you.
Right.
Like, I want you to have good cholesterol numbers. I want you to have a body weight that supports activity but doesn't cause you to have chronic health conditions.
Yeah.
And again, that's what we want. But that's different for everybody.
Right.
And different through ages, different through times in your life, seasons of life. What's optimal fitness for somebody like us, who we would consider when you're 35 or older, in the CrossFit world, you're considered a master's athlete, or basically,
I love that.
Basically, it means we're senior citizens in the sport. I love it too.
Yes, I'm a master.
But what it does is, it's like there's different levels, right? Like a master's athlete at 48 years old, I shouldn't be competing with, like we have one of our athletes, and I'll use Haley as an example. Haley's 19. Haley should be fitter than me.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't mean Haley and I can't both work out together and have fun and high five each other. And like, there'll be certain workouts where I might be better than her, and there's other workouts where she's better than me.
Right.
But like, we shouldn't be the same. And that's cool.
Right.
And that's part of the fun. Like you had mentioned a little bit ago, like about the community.
Yeah.
That's the fun about it, is like in every class, whether you come in the mornings or you come at noon or you come at night, there's all different ages. There's men, there's women, there's younger people, there's older people. I think our youngest athlete currently, I have a young lady who's in fundamentals, about to graduate. I think she's...
Is she younger than Emmy?
She's 14, I think, either 14 or 15.
Yeah,
so she's
Emmy's 16.
Yeah, so she's pretty young. I don't think she drives yet.
Okay.
But I know she doesn't drive yet because her mom brings her.
Good.
So she's probably like when we say youngest, she's youngest. Well, and then Kylie just went through fundamentals in the last session, and I think Kylie's 13. She's 12 or 13. Yeah, so like we can start kids young if they understand, like they have to have good body awareness. They have to be able to have good motor skills. Like, they can't be a wild kid that's going to run around and like, that's not that age. We don't have a CrossFit Kids program, But you know, someone who's a teenager, who's a student athlete, they are absolutely capable of doing CrossFit.
Yeah.
There's nothing we do that can't be modified to the most functional. Like, you know, I might have you squat with 50 pounds on your back, and I might have Emmy, your daughter, squat with just an empty barbell.
Right.
Or I might have her use dumbbells or something. Maybe she doesn't need to do it with 50 pounds. You both can work out together. You can, you know, get sweaty and high five and burn some stress, and it's cool.
Right.
And then I think our oldest athlete might be Tony, and Tony's in his 70s.
Yeah,
And he's a stud.
He's so much fun.
Right, he's a stud. And you know what? He's always been kind of fit, but he's like, you know, I'm 70. I want to be fit until I'm 90.
I love that.
Yeah, and he has children. He has children and grandchildren, and he's like, I want them to have a grandpa who's cool and can play with them, and
Not in the hospital.
and not sick, and not have to be cared for by your kids and your grandkids. And I think that's cool. Like, that's my favorite part.
That is cool.
You know, I love people. Like, we had a competition here a few weeks ago, and it's super fun.
Yes.
Like, you're like, it was not fun.
I did it. It was fun.
It is fun, and it's fun to do that and to push yourself and to, like, in that case, to kind of like lay it all out. Like, it's one day, you're gonna pour into it, right?
Yes.
But your Monday through Friday doesn't need to be that.
Right.
Right? Like that, if that was your Monday through Friday, you would stop coming. You would be so sore and beat up, and you would be like,
But you prepared me.
This is terrible.
Prepared.
Well, I think we've done a really good job at the gym overall, between the coaching, between the scheduling, between the development of athletes, and making sure people are working where they're at. That people are ready. CrossFit, the whole idea is that you're planning for the unexpected. Like, you're training for the unexpected. You know, if you so like
So the zombie apocalypse.
like, yeah, we joke about the zombie apocalypse, but like, that's really it. Like, you know, if something happened, so, and I use this example a lot with like our older patients or our older customers. So like, if you fall down in your home, one of the scariest things for our senior population is if they fall and they don't have someone who lives with them as a caregiver, they're either going to have to call 911, and that's maybe embarrassing, and
I can't
you know,
even imagine.
They don't like, you know, it's uncomfortable to think they would have to do that. Or two, they may have to like lay there, possibly injured, or like my biggest fear when I was heavy was falling in the shower.
Yeah.
And what if I fell in the shower and I had to call people and they had to come get me out of the shower naked?
Yeah.
I would rather lay there and die than had a stranger have to come and help. You know what I mean? Because I was so uncomfortable with my body.
Yeah.
That would have been horrific. Well, one of the things that, you know, people make fun of a burpee. They're like, oh, it's the hardest thing in the world and it's grueling. It's not. I mean, it's basically fall down and get up.
Yeah.
And it teaches you how to get up. And it teaches you how to get up independently, which is a function of life.
Right.
Like, if you fall we had a member last year who sent me a message. They fell at Sam's Club. Right? They were grocery shopping. They slipped and fell, and they were super excited. They sent me a message and said, I fell, and I sat myself up, and then I rolled over onto my hands and knees, and then I used my cart to stand myself up. That's what we do.
That's awesome.
I mean, like, there's, not that I wouldn't be super excited if one of our athletes was standing on the podium at the CrossFit Games. That would make me so happy and proud. I was just as proud that somebody was like, I fell at Sam's Club.
And
You know what I
because
mean?
of you,
And I got
God.
up. Well, not because of me necessarily, but because I believe in what they believe in, what I'm telling them, enough to trust me. I don't take that for granted. I don't take for granted that people trust me.
Right.
And I think they trust me because I don't try to, I'm never going to make you do something you shouldn't do. I'm never going to degrade you, or I don't know, like, look down my nose at you if you're like, I'm not feeling it today. You know, I think, like, you lost a pet. Like, people don't realize a pet is like a family member. Yeah. When you came in the first day after that, you were like, my heart's not in it. I'm here because I need to mentally, but you had no business having a heavy weight that day. Right? And that's a coach, being able to listen, not just to what your words are, but to your life.
What would you say one of your biggest success stories would be? I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of stories, like just the one you told me about with the Sam's Club. But is there anything?
I don't know. Like, I love it when people hit a skill or they do something for the first time, especially if I feel like I've somehow have helped them to do that. I love seeing confidence in someone. We had an athlete who competed last year at a kind of a bigger event, and being able to be there, and he hit a big lift that he had been working on, and like like it wasn't about me, I didn't lift it, right? But having been there and having watched how hard the work, the preparation, the effort that went into that, 27 seconds that it took for him to do that lift, it's incredible. Yesterday we had an athlete kick up and do a handstand.
Oh, you saw that?
For the first time, and she's been, and it's a confidence thing. I knew she could do it. She needed to know she could do it. And so we've been working on things and like confidence building things, and just letting her know that like it is kind of scary, but you can do it. I believe in you. We had a girl a few weeks ago who did her first ring muscle up.
Yep.
And then she proceeded to do like 3 more. And immediately she was like, oh, I could do this, I could do that. And it's like, just stop. Like for 2 seconds, let's just, do you know what you just did? Like you reached a goal, celebrate. And so I think when you say, what is your biggest success? My success as a coach is when my athletes have that light bulb moment of like, holy shit, hard work paid off. I did that. Because it's not like, a coach who would take credit for an athlete has missed the point, right? You do the work. When you PR on your clean and jerk, like I'm like, heck yeah. I didn't lift it. I'm not the one who had to push my feet into the ground and keep my arm. You had to
think about 50 different things.
Right, that's you. So am I excited? Does that make me proud and excited? And do I kind of be like, hey, you do a good job as a coach? Absolutely, that feels good when people like connect the dots. But if ever I felt like that was me, like I can't take credit for it, I don't do anything. I just show up, I give you the tools, I give you the resources.
It's an inspiration.
Well, thank you.
You do inspire us.
Well, and I want people to see what I see.
Yeah.
I want them to see that like your potential is endless, right? Like anybody, if you really try to do something, you can do it. Now, granted, if you're 5 foot and you want to be in the NBA, maybe not. But there's that, but maybe not. But like, maybe there's other things that you can do around that sport. You know what I mean? Like there's always a way.
Yeah.
And that is my success. When people achieve their goals, I feel like I succeeded. When someone comes in, like we have an athlete at the gym now who is working on their weight loss. That is their priority right now. And so every once in a while I just check in, like, hey, how's it going? I don't care what they weigh. It's irrelevant to me, right? I have to worry about what I weigh. That's enough problems, but I'll check in. How's it going? How's the meal prep this week? Did you have any fun recipes? I'm not like, come get on the scale in front of me. Like I did that for years with Weight Watchers.
I was a manager at Jenny Craig.
Right, right.
Like I don't. Most nerve-wracking thing for people.
And it's scary, and the scale is a tool, sure, but I don't care. That person's goal of losing weight is because they have some other high skill gymnastics things they want to do, and that extra body weight's making it hard to do them. It's not anything I think they look great. I don't think they need to lose weight. But we're trying to find a balance between their strength and their skills. And their strength maybe let's say they can lift 125 pounds and currently they weigh 138. I got to figure out either they got to get stronger or they got to weigh less so we get that balance. Right. That's it's a process.
Yep.
And if they lose some weight, awesome. We're going to keep working on the skills regardless. And usually what happens is when they stop worrying about it is when it happens.
Right.
When they stop focusing is when it happens.
And all that, yeah.
Yes.
Well, in terms of basically like what my whole podcast and stuff is about flip-flopping your life.
Yeah, I love that.
When would you say was your biggest flip-flop?
When my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. I'm an only child. I was daddy's girl, okay? So that rocked my world, right? I mean, that rocked my world. Like, people will never, ever understand losing a parent. And my dad was one of those larger than life. He could do anything, like invincible men, right?
How old were you?
He's been gone 11 years, so 36, 37, right around there. Yeah, he was 64 years old when he was diagnosed, and he was still working.
Wow.
Okay. And he was 60, he was 63. But he had just retired from his job that he had forever, and he was so pissed.
Was he really?
Yeah, because the doctor was like, you've got like 6 months to live, and he was like, I'll be damned if I'm gonna die and never see a dollar I paid into Social Security, working my whole life, right? And him and I had a lot of conversations when he was dying, and the end of life. He was, and he was a Christian. His faith was strong. He knew like he was fine to die. He wasn't scared to die. And when I said, like, Daddy, what do you regret? Is there anything in life you would have done differently? And he said, Kimmy, I never would have worked 16-hour days. I never would have worked for people who didn't appreciate me. I never would have did something that I didn't love just to put money in the bank and pay for cars. And so that was the catalyst that made me. I worked for an insurance company. I made 6 figures. I made good money. My husband and I sold everything. We sold everything. I quit my corporate job that I had been at for 14 years.
Wow.
We came home. When we first came home, we lived in an apartment. Went from a 2,500 square foot house into an 800 square foot apartment. I worked, my first job when we came back is I worked part-time at Staples.
You did?
I did. I worked at Staples. I was a cashier. I sold computers in their electronics department. I loved it. It was so fun. Got to talk to people. We got to solve problems.
Now you are a people person.
Right? Like, people would come in and they had a problem and I got to solve it, and I loved that. I didn't make any money. I think I made $8 an hour. I didn't care. I was happier than I had been. Right?
That is huge.
I was happier than I had been. And so then I did that for about 18 months when we first came home, while I kind of got my mom. We got her new doctors, we got her new medicine, we got her back where she was sort of living for her what was her best life. She had a chronic health condition that after my dad passed away, she decided she wasn't interested in trying to get better. She was like, I might as well be dead too. My life is gone.
Yeah.
Which is sad, but I understand.
Well,
they had been married 48, like, I get it. Like, that was her life.
Yeah.
And when she was sick and towards the end of her life, I went back to work for a company 40 hours a week, right? Monday to Friday, making good money again. And in Licking County, making good money, making more than $30,000 a year, you're like, hey, it's a good job. And I did that, and then my mom was at the end of life, and I decided to take 12 weeks off work and use my family medical leave to stay home and be a caregiver. And I moved in with my mom and resolved a lot of issues in life that should have been resolved when I was 14, right?
Oh,
like a lot of baggage with your parents resolved. And kind of in the midst of that, I was friends with Chad, who owned CrossFit Torsion. And him and I had talked a little about different things, and he was like, do you have any interest in being a coach? And I was like, why would you ask me that? And he was like, because you'd be good at it.
Yeah.
He's like, your personality fits it. He's like, you love people, you care for people, you want to help people be the best version of themselves. He's like, and that's what I want.
Yeah.
And at the time of that happening, him and the Walkers were opening CrossFit Torsion kind of version 2.0.
Yeah.
And they were like, if you would like to come and coach, we would love to have you. And I was like, I mean,
were you nervous?
Yes. I'm nervous every day.
What?
Yeah. Yeah,
this is shocking.
Yay. I mean, we always have doubt, right? You always, like, if I told you, I think you're great. I mean, it's like the conversation we were having earlier.
Yeah.
Like, when I tell you, like, I think you're great, and I think you run your own business, and you do, like, all these things are amazing, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, there's some days I don't even feel like I know what I'm doing. Like, that's normal, right?
Yeah.
That's how I am with coaching.
Yeah.
Like,
I would totally be that way.
Every day, I kind of have a little freak out where I'm like, they're totally going to figure out I don't know what I'm doing. They're going to fire me. And they haven't yet, and that's exciting, but sometimes I'm like, oh God, if I make it till 7 o'clock and nobody fires me, it's good, right? But yeah, I get nervous, and they asked me to come and to coach, and I was like, okay. And then at first, Chad told me how much he was going to pay me, and I was like, okay. I mean, okay. So I'm like, and to be a CrossFit trainer, you have to go and get a special. You have to take this certificate class, right? It's $1,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, so basically, I'm going to have to coach about 100 days to pay for this. And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, and I work 1 hour a day, 2 days a week. And he was like, yep. And I'm like, what do you think about it? I need to really think about it. And I went home and I talked to my husband, and Chuck was like, I mean, you got to do what's right. You got to do what's right. What do you feel? And I'm like, I think it would be fun.
You'd love it.
And I'm like, I think I would be good at it. I think I would like it. And so my husband and I made a deal that I could, and I was having my hip replaced around the same time. And so my husband was like, we'll make a deal. While you're rehabbing your hip, you can kind of do this, and we'll see. And then you can coach for like 6 months. And if this doesn't work out, you need to be able to tell Chad you're not doing. I'm like, okay. And then I got to be here. I got to hang out with our more experienced coaches. I got to watch people who were way better athletes than me train.
Yeah.
I got to have my eyes on people who moved really, really well, learn about movement, and there was no turning back.
Yeah.
There was none. The very first time I had someone in fundamentals who did a squat the right way, I was like, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing forever, you know?
Yeah.
And it really is from my dad though, because my mom and my dad both always said their only wish for me was that I would be happy.
Yeah.
You know, they never cared about if I had a big job or a big house or a big car. They always were like, we just want you to be happy. And I thought for a long time that meant the house, the car, the
what
stuff.
Everybody's taught.
The stuff, right?
Yeah.
But what I realized is what that really means is that every day, and I'm not going to say this is not an easy job. This is a very, very hard job. It is basically like being on stage, performing.
Yeah.
That's what this is. And you have to show up ready to perform. You have to perform. You have to entertain the crowd.
Yes.
You have to make sure you're
a teacher.
Keep people right. You have to entertain. You have to teach. You have to see. You have to correct. You have to encourage. You have to, sometimes correct, not in a great way. You have to be like, "What are you thinking? Like, put that down. You're going to hurt yourself."
And then says it differently though.
I'm trying to be really nice and good and not use any bad words.
That's why we love Kim.
But at the end of the day, it's exhausting. You go home and it's like,
I'm sure.
And then I get in the car at night to go home, and I'm like, God, I forgot to tell Kristen that her chest to bars looked really good today, and oh man, I missed an opportunity.
You think about it like all
day long. All day.
Oh, I can imagine.
And you look at the workouts, and you're like, oh, like we had a person recently, who had a foot surgery.
Yeah.
So every day you'd be like, oh my gosh, is that person going to be in class? What am I going to have them do? And were they there yesterday? Because you don't want to do the same thing 2 days in a row.
Right.
People don't really think about that. They're like, oh, you show up and do what's on the board. Mm-hmm. There's way more to it.
Right.
So if you guys say thank you to your coaches, say thank you because they work hard.
They
do. It's fun, but there's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it especially here. I don't know about other gyms, but at this gym, we have 7 coaches.
You do.
They work hard.
Yes.
All of them, from the one who works. We have a coach who only coaches a couple classes a day to people who, or a couple classes a week to people who coach, 10, 12 hours a week. Like, whether they're coaching a couple classes or a lot, the same preparation is going into it, and they work hard, and they love the athletes.
Us.
They love that's the satisfaction. The satisfaction is, we have a banner that hangs up over here that says "Build your best life," and that's what we believe.
Yeah.
We want to help you build your best life, but at the same time, we want to build our best life.
Right.
So we try to make that happen.
They do an awesome job too.
I'm glad that you say that. Thank you.
You guys really do.
Thank you.
I went from another gym. It all of it was a pretty good experience till they
Different.
had to close their doors, and so that was unfortunate. But then I had to come over to Torsion, and all CrossFit gyms are different, and it's just been a great experience.
That's
A
cool.
really
I like
great
that.
experience.
That's good. That's good feedback for us, right?
love it.
I mean, there's because not everybody has a good experience. Some
Right.
people are like, "This sucked," and that's okay too. Like, we want to hear that, but it's good to hear that
No, we
somebody
love
liked it.
Okay, so the question I ask everybody:
Okay.
if you were in your flip flops, because
Okay.
that's part of the name
Right.
too. The reason why I named it, because we love being in our flip flops and being on the beach and all that stuff. If they were magic slippers, where would you go and why?
Anywhere?
Anywhere. If they could take you anywhere,
Do I have to go by myself, or can I take people with me?
whatever you want to do.
Okay. All right. So these are like
It's your
legit magic slippers.
Yes.
Okay. I would take my husband. I would click my heels, and I would take my husband to Italy. And I would
wanna
go.
go to Italy?
That's his heritage that he doesn't know a whole lot about. And I would take him there, and I would figure out. I would do like, I don't know, like I like have
I
this.
would love to go to Italy.
So like I imagine like going to the Catholic Church and having to dig through archives to find his family name. You know, like that's what I would do.
That's not dumb. That
I
would
would
be
go.
fun.
I know. I think it'd be great. But I would go and I would help him figure out where does he come from?
Yeah.
Like I know my lineage. Like I know, like
You do.
German, back to the German. Like German. We are all German. We came from German like German. He doesn't really know that.
Really?
He doesn't really know his heritage. So if I unlimited money, unlimited time, that's what I would spend time doing. Would be helping him kind of investigate that to figure out his heritage.
Yeah.
Because I think he would argue with me about this, but I think he might be a little misguided about his heritage, and I kind of would like to prove it wrong.
Why? How's he?
I mean, because when
Is he Italian?
I don't know. He thinks he is. I'm not gonna. I mean, he can't. He doesn't cook pasta. He doesn't really like bread. Like, you're not really Italian if you don't like those things, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's genetic. Like, if you're Italian, you are a pasta loving, like.
Chase didn't like pizza for the longest time until he was older. I know.
Is he adopted?
Unfortunately,
Maybe.
No, he's too much like his dad. He's not adopted. That's for sure. Cool.
Yeah, I
So
think
you guys want to do that like soon?
I mean, like we're getting ready to go on an anniversary trip in like 6 days. If he watches this, he'll be
Out
like, she
west.
didn't even know. I think it's like 6 days. It's next week. We leave it must be 7 days because we leave next Friday. We're going to Oregon. We're going to the Oregon coast.
Yeah.
We're going with our two best friends.
Yep.
We're going to go out there to celebrate our 20th anniversary. We're staying on the beach in a condo that the doors open and there's the water. And we have, we want to go whale watching. We want to go kayaking in the sound. We have there's
kinds of
things that we love to do outdoors, and we want to show our friends have never been out west. Like they typically vacation East Coast because we're from Ohio.
Yeah.
And we're like, we want to take you west and show you the west coast of the United States.
Nice.
It's different than, Destin. Everybody goes to Destin.
Yeah.
Everybody goes to Florida. It's very different. So we're gonna take them out there and show them that. Hopefully it'll be really, really fun. That's first. But yeah, if I could click my heels and wake up tomorrow somewhere, it would be in Italy, and we would go down and around the boot and up and around, and we would just eat and research and lay in the sun and
Walk everywhere. Because you can.
Because you can, and I would eat bread dipped in
All
the
oil
stuff and the seasoning. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I would do. And I don't know. I would find a way to be. I mean, I guess I would ride a bike or
would love it.
go swimming or do something. But
Pat just doesn't want to fly that far.
well, just leave him at home and you can come with us. It'll
I'll
be
do
fun.
that.
Yeah.
I'll drive you around.
The Cherubini
Drive you,
Uber.
Miss Daisy.
Cherubini Uber. Maybe that's you
There
could.
you go.
There you go. Cherubini Uber. Add that to the
Beanie Uber.
Beanie Uber.
Beanie or whatever.
Yeah, I think that will work.
All right. Well.
Hopefully this gives you what you wanted.
Yes. yes.
Okay,
I think
good.
she's an inspiration, and you know, if somebody wants to check out CrossFit,
Yeah,
and check you out,
please.
What would you say is the best way for them to get in touch with you?
I mean, so the easiest way is going to be to go to the CrossFit Torsion webpage.
Right.
And there's a little link there that says contact us. If you see this video, you can just hit that contact us button and say, hey, I saw this girl with purple hair on this video, and she said anybody can do this, and I want to try. Yeah. We would love to have you. We do a series of fundamentals every month. We're finishing our August one this weekend, and we're starting the September one. I want to say it's like September 16th, 17th. It's a Tuesday.
Okay.
So it's like the second or third Tuesday in September is when we start our next fundamentals. But if somebody's like, I don't want to, I'm not comfortable, I want to maybe just work one-on-one, I do that too. I do personal training. If you have I do a weightlifting, I can do CrossFit. If you were like, I want to do more traditional bodybuilding type training, like I don't want to do CrossFit. I mean, I could give you something and not call it CrossFit. We could call it P90X or whatever you want to call it, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And that'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I'll make sure I'll put links to CrossFit Torsion and to Kim and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So if you do want to get in touch with her, check it out. You're more than welcome to. But hopefully you got something out of this that will help you in that and make you not so scared.
Oh God, no! If I can do it, anybody can.
Yep.
If I can do it, there's no reason. Anybody can do it. Come see me and we'll figure it out. Cool.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Woohoo! We did it.
Yeah, we didn't die. Yay.
We didn't die. 47 minutes.
Is that too much?
No.
Oh, okay.
Heck no.
All right.